You know how we always hear that you've got to dominate possession to win in modern soccer?
Yeah, control the ball, control the game. That's the usual mantra, right?
Exactly. But lately, we've been looking at something that really flips that whole idea.
Nottingham Forest.
You got it. We've seen some fascinating analysis on them, and what really jumps out is how they're not just surviving in the Premier League,
Yeah.
they're actually grabbing results.
And often with like way less of the ball.
Right. Makes you think maybe there's another way, another formula.
Absolutely. What's truly eye-opening looking at how Forest operate is just how competitive they are, even winning games, while often letting the other team have most of the ball.
It really challenges those fundamental assumptions we have about success at this level, doesn't it?
It's almost defiant, really, in this era obsessed with possession stats.
Totally. So for this deep dive, we're going to break down exactly how they're pulling this off.
Okay.
We've looked closely at their defensive structure, the sheer speed of their counters.
And they're passing too, right? It's quite distinct.
Yeah, the numbers behind their very direct passing style. And we'll also touch on how opponents are trying to, well, figure them out.
And that curious difference between home and away form.
Oh yeah, that too. It feels like we're about to unlock a slightly different way of thinking about winning in football.
Sounds good. So let's start with the foundation, yeah. Our analysis clearly shows it all starts with that strong defense.
Okay, let's unpack that defensive bedrock. It seems pretty obvious that for Forest, job number one is being solid at the back.
Definitely their priority.
They really focus on those, fundamental defensive actions. Stuff that sometimes gets overlooked, maybe.
Like what specifically?
Well, getting the ball clear, proper clearances under pressure, blocking shots, really putting bodies on the line.
And winning headers, aerial duels.
Exactly. Being dominant in the air. It feels almost, I don't know, a bit old school, but effective.
And that commitment to the basics seems to be working for them. You mentioned Matt Seals, the keeper.
Okay.
His role seems huge here.
Yeah, he's crucial, isn't he? A solid last line.
Allows the defenders maybe to be a bit more aggressive further up, knowing he's there.
Could be. And the goals conceded stat really tells a story. What was it, in the first 31 games?
Yeah, 37 goals conceded, which averages out to just under 1.2 goals against per game. 1.1 mine, to be precise.
That's pretty impressive in the Premier League.
Especially when you consider they often don't have the ball for long periods. That resilience is key.
It makes you wonder if that tight defense is actually like the launch pad for their attacks by frustrating teams.
I think it has to be. It certainly goes against the grain, the idea that you need the ball to stop the other team scoring.
Okay, so they've built this wall. What happens next? When they do win it back, how do they shift gears so quickly?
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Right.
And where they catch teams out.
Right.
They don't mess about with like loads of short passes at the back. Their counters are all about speed, sheer directness.
So straight from A to B.
Pretty much. They want that ball moving from their defensive third into dangerous areas as fast as possible. We're talking deliberate, long forward passes.
Aiming for the space behind the opposition defense.
Exactly. Exploiting any gaps left when teams push up against them. It's very intentional, almost audacious, you could say.
And they've got the players for it, haven't they?
Oh, yeah.
That rapid transition needs pace.
Oh, yeah. You look at Anthony Alenga, Callum Hudson-Odoi, they have that raw speed to just burn past defenders.
And stretch the game vertically.
Right. And then you've got Chris Wood up front. He's often the target for those longer balls.
The outlet. Someone to hold it up or flick it on.
Precisely. Hold up play, bringing those quick wingers into the game, or getting on the end of things himself. It's a really direct channel.
It feels like a bit of a gamble, though, doesn't it? Playing that way.
You could definitely call it high risk, high reward. Yeah.
Okay.
But when it works, when it clicks, it can completely knock teams off balance, especially teams that maybe overcommit going forward against them.
Leaves them exposed at the back.
Exactly. It takes some bravery to stick to that style, game after game.
So instead of the patient, intricate passing we see so often.
Yeah, the sort of tiki-taka style.
Forster just bang, get it forward. And the data we've looked at really backs this up.
Oh, it does, yeah. The passing stats paint a really clear picture of what they're trying to do.
Talk me through it.
Okay, so their total progressive passing distance is basically how far their completed passes move the ball towards the opponent's goal.
Right.
It's a massive 60,143 yards, which is, what, about 55 kilometers?
Wow, that's huge.
It's staggering, and they're completing these forward passes at a rate of 75%.
Okay, 75%. Not the highest, maybe, but
Exactly. It's not the highest completion rate in the league, but it strongly suggests this isn't just, hoofing it aimlessly.
there's a plan. There's intent.
There's a definite purpose.
Mm.
A certain level of accuracy in finding those targets with longer forward balls. It's a conscious choice.
Prioritizing getting into dangerous areas quickly over just keeping the ball.
Absolutely. Even if it means less overall possession than the other team. It's such a contrast to teams that want to control the tempo with short passes.
Really highlights the different ways you can approach the game.
It does. It makes you appreciate that diversity.
So, okay, other teams must be watching this. They see Forest playing this winning, ugly, and smart style, as we're calling it.
They're not blind to it.
How are they trying to stop it? What are opponents doing to try and, crack the Forest code?
That's a great question, and we are seeing different strategies being tried.
Like what?
Well, one common tactic is pressing them really high up the pitch, right from goal kicks, sometimes.
Okay, try and force mistakes early.
Yeah, and specifically to disrupt someone like Morgan Gibbs-White. He's often key in starting those quick transitions, those counters.
Put pressure on him, stop him getting his head up and picking those passes.
Exactly. Put pressure on the defenders, too. Make it harder to even attempt those accurate long balls.
Yeah.
Suffocate the supply line, basically.
Makes sense. Cut it off at the source. What else?
Another big thing is trying to really dominate the midfield battle.
Control the center of the park.
Right. If you can control that area, have more bodies in there, you can limit Forest's ability to play those direct passes into the forwards.
Starve the strikers of service.
Essentially, yeah. Dictate the rhythm yourself and stop them playing through you or over you as easily. Force them into maybe less effective long passes under pressure.
And defensively, how are teams setting up against those fast counters?
We're seeing more teams adopt a deeper defensive line against them.
Sitting back a bit more.
Yeah, basically reducing the space behind the defense, that space that Alonga and Hudson-Odoi love to run into when the long ball comes over the top.
So take away the runway for those fast attackers.
That's a good way to put it. Trying to deny them the space they thrive in.
Okay. Anything else?
And finally, there's definitely a heightened focus now on defending set pieces against them.
Because of Wood.
Exactly. Chris Wood's aerial threat is significant. Forrest can be dangerous from corners, free kicks.
Dead balls become really important.
Very important. So opponents are really paying extra attention to their marking, their organization, everything, when defending set plays against Forest.
Wow. It sounds like teams are really having to think hard and adapt their own game plans significantly.
They absolutely are, trying to nullify that unique approach.
Now, something else jumped out when we looked deeper at the numbers you sent. Comparing their home form and their away form.
Yes. This was really striking. A really fascinating contrast.
Tell us about it. It was a bit of a head-scratcher, wasn't
It
it?
really was. Basically, their defensive record at the City Ground, their home stadium, is way stronger than when they play away.
Okay, how much stronger?
At home, they concede on average just 0.67 goals per game.
0.67. That's incredibly tight, like fortress territory.
It's a really impressive level of defensive solidity at home.
But then away from home,
It's a completely different story. On their travels, they're conceding an average of 1.6875 goals per game.
whoa, that's a massive difference. More than a goal per game extra conceded away.
It's a very significant jump, yeah. And it raises some really interesting questions about why that might be.
It really does. What could be behind that? Is it just the home crowd effect, that famous city ground atmosphere giving them an edge?
That could certainly be part of it.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's a specific tactical tweak they make at home versus away.
Like they set up slightly differently. Or maybe it's about adaptability. They struggle to impose their style as effectively on the road.
Or perhaps just consistency. Maybe maintaining that intense defensive focus is harder away from familiar surroundings.
Could be a mix of all those things, couldn't it?
Exactly. Understanding this home versus away difference is really crucial, I think, for getting the full picture of Forest's strategy.
And the true effectiveness of their slightly unconventional approach in different environments.
Right. It suggests that their winning, ugly, and smart formula might work even better under certain conditions.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. It feels clear that Nottingham Forest are offering this really compelling counter-argument, doesn't it?
Against the idea that possession is king.
Yeah, against that dominant belief. They've built this tough defense. They're incredibly sharp on the counter with those direct passes.
And the data on their passing really highlights that unique, efficient way they get the ball forward.
They're genuinely forcing us to maybe rethink what controlling a game actually means.
Absolutely. They're a fascinating case study, shows how a really well-defined, even if unconventional game plan can let a team compete and get results,
Even in a league often dominated by possession-heavy teams.
proving there isn't just one way to succeed in football, not one blueprint.
And it leaves you with that big question, doesn't it? Can this Forest style, this winning ugly and smart, be truly sustainable long-term in the Premier League?
Yeah, can they keep it up season after season?
And how long before other teams really figure them out, fully adapt, and manage to consistently shut down their main threats?
It's going to be fascinating to watch that tactical battle play out.
Definitely. And, thinking about adaptation versus sticking to your guns. For our next deep dive, we're actually going to tackle that exact question. How important is tactical flexibility compared to just sticking rigidly to a well-honed game plan in today's Premier League?
Ooh, that's a good one. Right at the heart of modern coaching debates.
Should be a great discussion. Anyway, that's all for this deep dive. Leave a comment if you enjoyed this soccer talk and subscribe to the AI GOAT podcast for more epic soccer deep dives. Thanks for tuning in.